Live. We are now live.
All right, guys. Hey, this is Daniel and Gian talk shit, and today we're gonna do something we haven't done in a while. Let's talk about the UFC because it's the first UFC card in
Two
what, two
months.
months now.
2 months.
The insanity of it all.
I mean,
You know,
do you want to talk about the event itself, or what the events that led up to the event with the coronavirus and all that stuff? I mean, because you got to talk about both at some point. But do you want to start in chronological order?
well, let's we'll get back to that part. I know you and I discussed that a little bit beforehand or yesterday about the whole Jacare situation, but um, I mean, I think Dana took a risk, and as long as not a bunch of people test positive afterwards, I mean, it's a good step in reopening the country from all that's going on. But it was definitely good to finally have some live sports on, and a live sport that we like.
I was
Like I
gonna
know
say
the
we could
South
watch
Korean baseball league.
rodeo. We can watch rodeo. I think rodeo
Oh, is that?
started.
Yeah, I have no interest in that. I have no interest in the South Korean baseball league. I have no interest in like watching video gamers. League of Legends. Um, which is not really live sports. They're playing from their house anyways. I mean, the gambling community was so desperate that they were betting on professional basketball players playing video game basketball against each other.
Why are you hating on? Why are you hating on rodeo, bro?
That's your thing. That's your thing, right?
This is America. I mean, it doesn't get any more American than that.
It definitely does not. That's probably the most American sport there is.
To ride a bull,
Yeah.
to,
Uh,
to lasso, to lasso bulls on a
yeah.
horse.
But like I said, I'm glad everything's back. I think there's a fight card on Wednesday, right?
Yes, there is a fight card on
Yeah, like
Wednesday and a fight card on
Dana
Saturday.
Dana's not missing his opportunity whatsoever.
Is today the 10th?
Today is the 11th.
Yeah, and they're good cards too. I mean,
Oh yeah, well, look, you got to remember that these guys aren't on. They only get paid if they fight.
oh
It's not
yeah,
like any other sport. So these guys are they're chomping at the bit to fight because they need to get a paycheck. So that they're not against it. I mean, I think a few of the guys are like, I'm not going to fight, or the ones that are like have money in the bank already, so they're like, I don't need to risk it. But you got your mid carders and people that are only getting like 30-30s that are that need this paycheck because they got to pay their trainers, they got to pay their rent. That some of these guys, like I said, the 30-30s, the 30 to show and 30 to win, you get 60 grand. That by the time they're done, they end up with like 25 grand after everyone they got to break off and all the bills they have to pay. Until their next fight, and they're paying their trainer fees out of that money. So it's yeah, there's a lot of excited fighters. So you're going to get some good fights on the card. I think this is convenient for Khabib because it's Ramadan. He has a fight during Ramadan anyways, so we weren't going to see any of those fights. I think that Tony fight was going to be the last one. But anyway, what do you want to fight? Where do you want to start with the card? Do you want to just
I
do you want to start? We already started talking about Tony. Do we want
I
to?
mean, we could start
Do we want to
there.
start with that?
I'm honestly just right now. What I'm doing is just fixing this damn camera shit. That, like before we were fine and we didn't have that camera problem where you like get tiny, but now all of a sudden we do again. So I'm just
Oh, it's starting to shift
starting to get all
around.
crazy again. Yeah, we can start
Right.
there. That I mean, what did you think of the fight?
Um,
One sided, obviously.
Listen, it was a bad fight. It was a bad fight. The only thing that was good about it was that Tony kept on getting cracked and not going down. Like that was I had more moments because he was taking these super clean shots and not going down rather than the actual like exchanges itself. Although I thought when he knocked down Gaethje at the end of the second that was like okay, now he's going to work into his
I thought so
groove.
too. I thought so too, and it never came. it just never came. That moment never came after that. Like that was I'm like, okay, here's where it all unravels. This is it. Because they were the commentators were they were saying, oh, this is where you know this is the game plan. Justin's gonna get tired. Like he's gonna overwork himself, and I thought, okay, they're right. Here it is. Here we go again. Another victory in the can. And nope, it never came. It just never came.
And it was I don't want to start the excuses, and I was hearing that Tony potentially had a concussion during training.
I mean, motherfucker's been training for however long, so. I mean, there's all.
And I hear that, and I'm like, well, why fight? I get it. You want to be this tough guy, or whatever, but you're concussed. I mean, stupid on his part.
I think it is.
What
I mean, but at the same time, though, it's like reputation, and he needs to get paid too. I'm sure. I don't know.
Yeah, look, when they announced that he was going to fight Gaethje, I immediately said, Tony's going to lose his fight. Tony's going to get knocked out. Because it's just not.
You didn't say that to me.
Oh, I said it to a lot of people. I got evidence all over the internet with the MMA people I chat with. The day it got announced, I said, this is a mistake. Tony's going to get knocked out. That Khabib fight's never going to happen. Never going to happen. Not because I think Gaethje's great or anything, but it's just because the styles make fights, and because of the way Tony fights, he's not going to be. He's going to fight right into Gaethje's strengths.
Well,
he's going to stay in the pocket and exchange.
To be fair, you were wrong. He did not knock out Tony Ferguson.
No.
And if he didn't, and if the ref did not step in, he probably still wouldn't have knocked him out. We got to give him credit for that. I mean,
well,
I don't know how much credit that counts for, but
the ref stepped in
not
because
knock him out.
The ref stepped in because Tony basically verbally tapped out.
He did that fucking like kung fu, like let me just shake out the cobwebs, like the.
Yeah, like that was. We've never seen Tony Ferguson look like that.
But he didn't knock him out. He did not get knocked out.
No.
Justin did not knock him out. We've seen Justin knock plenty of people out. He did not knock out Tony.
Yeah. No, it's a testament to Tony's.
It almost feels like because the argument has been the weight cuts, back-to-back weight cuts, and hindering his performance that way, and maybe that's true, and then you texted me, hopefully Tony doesn't break into a brawl. It almost feels like that's exactly what Tony should have done. Let's
just let caution to the wind.
It's just went total vicious mode, because the fact that I feel like Justin set the pace of the fight because Tony wasn't willing to go to do that.
Well, Justin also fought a better fight,
100%.
A smarter fight plan than normally we say.
His precision was on point. He was accurate. He was hitting everything, even the little taps, like they were connecting.
Yeah, he wasn't reckless for sure. He wasn't reckless, and that was good to see.
How much do you think that has to do with the crowd not being there, though?
I mean, that could be part of it too.
Because I felt like there was definitely moments where the crowd goes at it, and then they just start. That's the signal to just start, throwing. That didn't happen at all.
No, we've definitely seen in the past, like we've heard at least, like a fighter will do something in training for a fight, and then the second that bell rings, everything he learned goes out the window, and he starts, and that could definitely be the case, or because there was no audience there for him to like impress per se, and he still impressed them. He didn't feel like he had to close the show the same way that he normally would. So he stuck to the game plan that his coaches probably drill into his head every single training camp.
And I mean, but also the fighters are saying that they were able to hear like DC coaching them, like Joe Rogan, like they were talking.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just an interesting experience. This whole camera thing,
There,
sorry, is really freaking annoying. I'm just gonna ignore it. Whatever. Sorry, guys. You're just gonna have to deal with the moving camera. It's too distracting to have a conversation and like keep repositioning the fucking camera. But to truth be told, it made it more interesting to me. Just because I watched the previous event when there was no audience, no crowd, no nothing, and I don't know. This one felt different than that one, even though I watched both of them. Like it just felt different. I'm glad the sport's back. To be honest, I want to see the thing that bugs me out the most out of all that. Not that we're not going to see Khabib Tony, because I think you will see it regardless. I think at some point, unless Khabib retires, which who knows, he might. But
maybe Khabib has nothing left to prove at this stage, especially now. Tony getting beat up the way he did takes a lot of shine off of that fight, and that's
see. It's funny. It's funny you say that because I actually disagree. I think Khabib has a lot to prove. He's just the champion, so he can say he doesn't have a lot to prove. Because he hasn't fought Tony. He hasn't fought Justin. He hasn't fought a lot of these top contenders.
Oh, I didn't say he's not going to fight Justin. I'm saying that Tony fight's never going to happen.
Oh,
like
sure,
that.
maybe. Who knows? I'm not. That's not what bums me out the most. What bums me out the most is we're not going to see Francis Ngannou fight for the heavyweight championship for however God knows how long. Because him versus Stipe again would be interesting. Obviously, Stipe wrecked Francis the first time. I don't know if that's going to happen again the second time. But then, and obviously DC wouldn't fight Stipe. Francis. But that's Francis fighting anybody right now.
I'll be honest with you. Everyone's gonna duck. They're gonna duck that fight until they have to take it.
It makes my balls as hot because he beat Francis. He can have that on his record that he beat Francis in the most boring fight ever.
Apparently, your audio is low, Daniel.
Oh well, that's fine. Let's just keep talking. Don't worry about it.
On the stream. Okay. Yeah, no, he's the boogeyman again. He was the boogeyman before Stipe beat him, and then he had that lackluster fight with.
Stipe dominated him. That's why.
My balls is hot. Whatever that guy's.
Derek Lewis. That's what I said. My balls is hot.
Yeah.
Derek Lewis.
Yeah, but he's definitely bringing that steam back, and yeah, no, there's a lot of stuff out there about Stipe too. Like he's got a lot of injuries and stuff. Right now,
he's a firefighter right now. He's battling the coronavirus.
I hear like his eyeball, like he can't see out of one eye or something weird like that. Like,
I mean, that's never good either. That's never good either.
Out of his camp, yeah. Like, so I mean, obviously the next fight should be Cormier and Ngannou, but if I'm Cormier, like, do I want that fight? What do I gain from that fight? You know, that's not. I don't know what it does for his legacy.
What do you mean?
And I don't know if I want to put myself. You get to a point where it's a legacy thing. Like Ngannou is great, and we love to see him, and we want to see some big fights with him. But if I'm at the end of my career, I don't know if putting Ngannou on my belt does anything for my legacy.
Are you talking about Stipe or DC?
DC.
Oh, DC. Okay.
DC.
Yeah. I was just making sure. Yeah, but see, why not just retire then?
And I could see that, and I'm saying I could see that happening.
I'd honestly, no bullshit. I love DC, but I'd rather just see him fucking retire at this point. It's gonna be another year before they fight.
DC has already come out and said that John Jones is better than him. And it looks like he wants that Stipe fight's the only fight he wants. So if he can't fight Stipe, he might as well retire. And I think he will. I think he'll lean that way. I don't think just because the risk is so high with Francis, you know. And not only that, but you got knocked out in your last fight.
DC said he would take him. He would have already taken him down in the first 10
seconds. Of course. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Just like Kane. Just like Kane was gonna take his ass down too, and then he got fucking uppercutted and wrecked. That's literally what happened to Kane.
Yes.
And they're training partners, so let's. The Francis Ngannou today is not the Francis Ngannou who lost to Stipe, in my opinion.
No, absolutely
because
not.
he's been training, he's been putting in the work, he's been in, and you still cannot take away his power. Like, honestly, I kind of hope Francis gets into boxing, to be honest with you. Just because,
You know,
because we're not even talking. Deontay's gone. He got lost in this mix. People aren't even talking about him anymore because Tyson Fury wrecked him so badly. Just, but
I think there's definitely a chance that we're going to see Deontay Wilder. We're going to see that third fight.
oh, for sure.
because
Well, they have the rematch
because
clause
of
already. It's gonna happen.
exactly.
But I'm just saying, Francis.
Exactly,
Okay,
and
throw Francis
he's
in the
blaming
ring.
he's blaming the whole wearing the 40-pound
Yeah,
thing.
you know,
He's got his built-in excuse.
maybe sure, but you also got fucking wrecked in the ring.
He got it.
He got his
Yeah.
ear broken. His ear exploded basically, and then, that was it. Let's see. We have some questions. So, how is UFC getting scheduled in lockdown? Well, we still don't know. UFC's in a weird situation right now where we just know the next two cards, and they've announced other cards with fights on them. But like in terms of where they're gonna be and what, it's still up in the air. We don't
Well,
know.
the truth of the matter is that WWE and Vince McMahon did whatever they had to in the state of Florida to get Florida deemed pro wrestling as an essential service. So Dana used what Vince McMahon used to get the UFC fights live as well.
Well, they have their
And
Fight
also,
Island coming up,
well, there's that as well.
but they're also
But
talking about going back to like Nevada might open up again.
right, and because just the money it brings in, But I think also, like, if you guys aren't from the U.S., like, we're a republic, so every state kind of has their own kind of governing statutes.
Whether
So
you like it or not.
whether you like it or not, if the governor says we're open, the state is open.
We have state sovereignty.
Yeah. So, unless a federal mandate is passed saying that every state must shut down, and that's with everything that's happened, has not happened once. Like, the federal government hasn't stepped in, hasn't gone that far yet with anything. So, Florida's gonna Florida, as we say out here.
And they've been doing so. Ngannou will wreck Tyson Fury. What do you think about that?
No.
Yeah, me either. UFC? Yes. In the ring?
Boxing.
In the boxing? No. Tyson Fury, it's going to be a while before someone beats Tyson Fury, in my opinion. I think Tyson Fury, I think he's the one who's going to retire. He'll beat Fury again. No reason to really fight Joshua anymore, other than just because he wants to. But the performance.
Well, the Joshua thing also has to do with
they're both English.
Yeah.
But I mean, you put Deontay in the ring with Tyson. That was supposed to be the scary match, The first one was like, I mean, but see, that's the thing. The first one Tyson dominated. And then it was just those two punches that connected. And then Tyson Fury came back in the second fight and literally bullied him the entire fight.
Yeah, he did something that nobody else has ever done.
He just kept pushing him around, literally, like, just did not give him any respect whatsoever. And as a result, Fury didn't even get touched. I don't even think he got any punches landed against him, really. I mean, he did, obviously, but you know what I mean. There was nothing.
Yeah.
There was nothing to take home about.
No, not at all. So there's also, speaking on Francis, he's also got like footwork issues, and he's very crude on a skill level, but he's just got such ungodly power, and he's also 6'4", and he cuts down to 265. So there's the size aspect.
To cut weight to make the freaking weight.
Yeah, he's a very large, and he's not fat. That's the thing.
No,
he's not.
I was seeing some pictures like on the MMA websites leading up to the fight, and I'm like, man, he's scary. Like, just imagine, like, if 100 of him came and they just started going through Los Angeles, just beating people up. Like, You need guns at that point. Like, you need guns. You get 100 Francises running around Los Angeles, they're gonna kill most of the people in Los Angeles. Like, it's not even a question. They're just gonna just start ripping heads off. It'll be like the Vikings.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you know, I
And that's the thing, dude. The guy he fought, I really liked. I still up Rosenstruck, or how do you pronounce his name?
yeah, Rosenstruck. I for
He
a
was
while there,
literally like bombing on people, and that just goes
I
to show
I
you the levels.
I had a few. I was like, maybe he can upset Francis just because the guy's also undefeated and
The hype
also
train, hype trains are everything.
yeah, and just the size like they're similar sizes, although definitely not as ripped as Francis. He's a little bit softer in the midsection. But yeah,
We know who the we know who
I was not expecting him to get blasted in 40 seconds.
I don't even think it was that long. He got wrecked, dude. He got wrecked. This was a blink and you miss it fight, and I didn't expect it to be that at all. What other fights were on the card that were enjoyable to you personally? The Dominic Cruz fight was a little bit of a disappointment. I'm not gonna lie.
I
Not
mean,
because I
like I
think the stoppage is the knee was amazing. It was a perfectly timed knee. He got him, and I just
you
think
just
I just
you
think
just hate
I just think it's like what you texted
Cejudo.
me. I don't like Cejudo, no, but it's what you texted me. Let the round be over. You got you got seconds remaining, literally. Let him go out or not. And if he doesn't, fight again for round 3, and then we'll see what happens. Because that's just more entertaining for me. It's because the thing is, it's the championship fight. It's for the belt. And then you got Dominic Cruz saying afterwards that the ref smelled of cigarettes and alcohol, and they should be getting tested too, and all this shit. Like, I don't know if that's. I'm not gonna call Dominic Cruz a sore loser, but I don't know if that's like he's saying that because he actually genuinely, that's a real concern, or he's saying it because he lost. I really don't know.
I'm sure there's a little bit of both involved there. It's definitely
It's
there's a little bit of both going on there,
it
but
it's just one of these things where you gotta just let the fighters fight a little bit. He did get wrecked though. His knee did. He did get kneed in the face.
oh no, he got hurt. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He was on
Queer Street for sure.
he was on Queer Street, as they say, for sure.
There was no.
But yeah, like had that happened in the middle of the round,
It would have been a clear, easy call right there at some point.
Exactly.
But at the same time, would Herb Dean have stopped it? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't even familiar with the ref. Like, was this a like? I've never.
He looks like the dude from King of the Hill.
Yeah, like
Hank Hill's grandpa.
Because of everything that's going on right now, like we don't know what refs were available for this stuff.
Oh no, he's a mainstay. Like he's a regular guy. Like I see him all the time. I'm just saying that. No, I hear you. What other fights though?
What'd you think of the Hardy De La Rosa fight or whatever?
Dude, he's fighting a lot. He is fighting a lot, so I just got to give it to him. I thought it was a boring fight, to be honest with you. But Hardy's been fighting a lot. He's just been putting in that work. So it's kind of can't hate on the guy.
I kind of think that it's one of those deals where Dana's like, either this guy's going to be a star or he's going to get blown out and then I can get rid of him.
I think so that's
it's like a win. Yeah, it's a win-win for Dana
because he hasn't really lost yet, like in a really like convincing, like because that's the thing. Hardy's not going to be fighting Francis anytime soon or anybody these big guys yet. I mean, he might fight like a Derek Lewis or something, but I don't know. It's like what do you do with him? Because he's not that. He's still learning. You can tell.
Yeah. but at the same time, he is arguably
The most athletic person on the roster.
the most athletic person in the heavyweight division. I don't want to say the most athletic on the roster because some of
Oh, well,
these,
I meant in the division. Yeah, you're right. No,
yeah,
that's
some of these lighter guys that are just not big enough to play other sports might also be great athletes as well.
right.
But yeah, like the guy was not only was the guy a Pro Bowler in the NFL, which is people like to say, oh, he was a Pro Bowl player, and that's cute and all, but that's voted on.
I mean, but he's still playing. He's still there. He's not. You can't discredit it. Not to say that you were doing that, but I'm just saying, like, it's still a valid thing, like, to play football. And I don't know how many seasons he played, but he still made the NFL. He made the show. Um, do you also follow matches involving women like Doug Rose? Of course. I mean, I do personally. I actually thought the fight between Joanna and champion.
That's one of the best. That
That
fight
is
is
the
one of
best
the
fight of
best
the
fights
year
of
for sure.
2020. Yeah,
Hands down, the best fight of the year. So it's, hey man, a fight can be good at any. Like, I was excited for the Hawaiian, the karate hottie fight, but that ultimately didn't turn out to be anything, quote unquote, exciting. But I like the women fighters. I don't have any problem with any fights, to be honest with you. A fight's a fight. Like, sometimes the women fights are the best fights on the card. It just all depends. You never know what's gonna happen. That's the
right.
exciting thing. Do you think boxing in USA is manipulated? Is that a chance? Is there a hold on, let me read the question. Do you think boxing in the USA is manipulated, and is there a chance for that to happen in the UFC? I think, like corruption. I think boxing. I don't know if boxing is as corrupt as it has been in the past, but
I mean, there's definitely boxing has a history of corruption, and I think the big problem with it more than anything is that you have so many different organizations and you have different promoters, so they all have their own agendas, and they're going to push their fights and they're going to do whatever they can because
right.
that's how they're making their money.
Yep.
Whereas the UFC
Is
because
Dana White and
it's
WME.
Yeah, they just obviously they want their guys that are bringing in. They want their top draws to win for that specific reason because they're the top draws. But that being said,
If someone can take their mantle and become a bigger draw, that's better for them.
Yeah, and you'll see. I don't think we've seen any like weird decisions happen. We've seen bad decisions because of the judges. Like, that Daniel's favorite fight right now is the John Jones.
Dominic Reyes fight.
Yeah, like.
Hey, bro, you watched that fight too. You can't deny that, like, it's a possibility that, like, that. If there was ever a fight against, I think that. Let me put it this way: out of all of John Jones's fights, that was the closest one for him to lose, even closer than Alexander Gustafsson to get an L. I don't know if you agree with that, but that's where I stand on that fight. And I think if John Jones will come back to fight anybody, it should be Dominic Reyes for round 2. That's what I think. But what was your point, though?
What I'm saying is that you don't see stuff like crazy stuff happening the way that you do with boxing, where like a hometown guy will get the decision, when it's clear the other guy.
You do see that, though. You do see that, though. But I don't think it's. I think it's because of terrible judging or bad officials, like stopping a fight early, as opposed to them getting money.
The reason why it happens in the UFC, is because you have boxing judges, and they're watching something they don't understand. Like I remember, we're gonna go way back here. I want to say at least 10 years ago. You can actually look this up. I think it might have been 11 years ago. But Shogun Hua fought Lyoto Machida for the title, and he probably landed like 300 leg kicks that fight. And we're going into the cards, and I was like, yeah, there's no way Shogun lost his fight. He beat Machida. And I was biased because I was never a Machida fan, and Machida got the win, and I was like, what the fuck? And the only thing I could think of was, the leg kicks. Like
They didn't count as much
and it
as
was
punches. And
it was for a while they didn't count as much as punches, right?
well, I mean, the sport's continuing to evolve.
Yeah.
I just don't. I think the corruption won't be because of people receiving payment under the table or like other things like that. I just think it's more incompetence or like heat of the moment things. Like I still personally do not comprehend. I do not understand this. I really don't. I don't understand why judges are in the building. I don't get that. They should be in the truck or in their own truck where you have all the fucking angles at once. You get to watch whatever angle you want. They're isolated. They're not influenced by the crowd. They're like, and that's it. Be in there. I think I personally just think that's ridiculous. But I also think, I mean, I'm not a fighter myself, but I don't know. But there's so many different disciplines that when you do have boxing judges, it kind of makes it unfair because there's been like I forgot who was the fight last Saturday. I don't know why I'm blanking on who was fighting, but it was like one of the early prelims where it was like a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and then the other guy was like also good at submissions, and he kept putting him in like a twister, and then like it was like a back and forth, but the guy never tapped, like the guy who was, but someone watching that. I'm not saying the judges did this, but I'm just saying someone who doesn't know and they're just coming from boxing, if they're defending and they're not getting the tap out, it looks like they're doing a good job at defending, which is true. But the reality is, if you're just defending, you're not really winning a match. You gotta defend and then do something. You gotta like
you're not
right.
scoring
And
points.
so again, I'm not saying that match was misjudged, but it's like things like that, and shit. Because I just think about when I started first watching UFC, I didn't know what the hell. Like I knew what a sleeper hold was because of WWF. I didn't know of any types of chokes or whatever. I just thought, you do this, you put your arm under their chin and then go to sleep, and then the ref will come and pull your arm like in wrestling. Like that was it.
What'd you think of the Cowboy Anthony Pettis fight? Who did you think won?
That one was kind of whatever, to be honest with you. If I'm being honest, I don't know. What'd you think? Pettis is weird to me because I almost feel like he should retire, but not because I don't like him or anything like that. You know what I mean?
I mean, you could say the same thing about Cerrone. Yeah. They both kind of have what do they have left to fight for? I don't think any of them have a title run left in them.
I mean, Donald got his payday.
Definitely.
My thing was the Verdum fight was what was disappointing. Because I like Alexei.
He definitely looks like he hasn't fought in two years.
Well, it definitely looks like he has that coronavirus.
Oh, we're gonna go on that. We're gonna go with that.
I'm just saying, it's like, I don't know. Verdum's one of those. I think it's because he got popped for like, what did he get popped for? Steroids or something? But then they found out that it was like not really what it was, and so like.
Basically, I think what they do is if he got the 2 years, then it was something he wasn't supposed to have in his system.
Oh, so it was. Either way, that's kind of for me. That's kind of it, though. I'm just looking at the card right now. The Pettis fight, it was whatever. The Alexei, I like Alexei. I really do. I liked it. Old. I like that he's old. I like that
He submits people. I like that he's had like 77 fights. Like I like the dude a lot. I like that he's Russian. Um, yeah. I'm just looking forward to, kind of looking forward to what's next, to be honest with you. Like after this week, just to see what happens. Because right now, let's see. Right now we have after UFC. So this on Wednesday we have. Hold on. It's hard for me to look up because
I feel like Wednesday is supposed to be a pretty good card.
yeah, we
Right?
got Anthony Smith versus Glover Teixeira, and then that's
Oh
the main.
shit, Teixeira is still
Yeah,
fighting. That
that's
is
the main event. That's at 6 o'clock. And then the co-main event is Ben Rothwell and then Oven St. Preux at heavyweight. He's moving up. And then on the prelims, Andre Arlovsky's fighting. Michael Johnson's fighting. There's
there's some guys that could probably retire already on this card, but that's fine.
That's okay. And then
Yeah.
on Saturday we have Overeem versus Walt Harris. Walt Harris is the one who lost his daughter. I was watching I guess they're doing a documentary about it and stuff.
Right.
That was a fucked up situation. So it's kind of like you kind of want him to win, but at the same time, I actually really like Alistair Overeem. As a matter of fact, I'm actually kind of disappointed because like I like Rosenstruck a lot, whatever you pronounce his name, but when he fought Alistair, which was the last fight before Ngannou, Alistair was whooping that ass, like for the whole fight, and it wasn't until literally the last like 20 seconds where Rosenstruck hit him with I don't know if you saw the pictures, but Alistair's whole face was basically torn off. Like his lip was ripped open, literally. Like just it was separated. It was pretty graphic. Cause that's what made me excited. I mean, Alistair's been getting knocked out left and right. I still don't understand how the dude's still fighting and like talking normal and stuff.
To be fair, Alistair Overeem has been getting knocked out his entire career since I've known him. He's always been chinny. So it's like it's not like Chuck Liddell who would take these monster shots and then keep on coming forward.
And then all of a sudden, when he got older, you would blow wind in his direction, and he'd just get knocked out.
Yeah, exactly. Overeem has always had
literally just like when I saw him fight Tito Ortiz, and that's literally what happened. Tito just like
exactly.
He just blew in his direction, and then Chuck got knocked out.
Exactly. So there's that to be said about Overeem, but he still hits hard.
He does. Obviously, the UFC still puts him in matches. So let's see, what do we have in the? I went to 3 or 4 sessions of MMA classes here in India. There were too few people, so the instructor just started training elsewhere and closed the place down. Well, that sucks. I saw some of Brock Lesnar's UFC matches. I thought he was good, just his illness kept coming up. Yeah, Brock is one of those people where he could have continued to be. I'm not today. His career would have been over by now, but
I think Brock, had Brock started earlier,
he would have been an icon of MMA.
Yeah, and he already was. He was a beast. He is
an icon of the UFC.
Yeah, I think he still has some of the records for pay-per-view buys.
I'm sure he does.
So.
UFC 200 was the last. I mean, despite the fact that I've seen almost every other UFC pay-per-view since UFC 200, UFC still remains. UFC 200 is the last one I bought, and that's because of Brock Lesnar.
I like how you admit that.
Hey, I'm not saying other people didn't buy them. I'm just saying me personally. The last one I bought was 200. Plus, I just, if he would have started younger, he would have started training boxing and other things too. It wouldn't have just been wrestling. But talk about freaks. I mean, imagine Prime. Who do you think wins, Prime Brock or Francis right now?
I think Prime Brock will probably take that, to be honest with you, because I don't know how Francis does being bullied.
Well, Stipe,
And
a better one. How does Francis
Well,
do
even
past the first round? That's the better one, because that's what Stipe took him out of that first round.
right, but Stipe took some
He
shots.
did, and I don't know if the motherfucker would be able to take it again.
I don't know if he ever recovered from those shots.
That might be why his eyes fucked up.
Yeah.
Like that's what retired Kane. That put Kane back in the W. I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out. I gotta fight him again. He's gonna be the champion. I'm good.
He's like, it's cool.
Do you think Francis is in his prime now?
Yes.
This is prime, and that's just because of his inexperience, like training, starting late.
Yeah, I think he doesn't have the wear and tear on his body. So even though he is, he's 37 or whatever it is.
Francis is 37.
Yeah, he's up there too, man.
I didn't fucking know he was that old.
Yeah.
Now I gotta Google this. I did not know this dude was that old. He's 33.
Oh.
Okay, calm down. 33 is not 37.
Is he 33?
He's 33.
Oh, I thought I saw he was 37.
He's 33. He will be 34 in September.
I stand corrected.
Still, I understand your point, but there is a difference between the two, for sure. Although, you look at freaking what's his name. I love you. He's great at fucking 55. Yoel Romero.
Right.
That's the fight. That's the most disappointing fight of the fucking year right there. Him versus Israel.
I know a lot of people aren't happy about that fight, but what are you gonna do?
I don't understand how you could be an Olympic wrestler and not want to wrestle at any point. I just don't get that. I just don't get it. That's why I don't understand why Tony didn't even bother to try to do any submission type shit.
Well,
even though Justin's a good wrestler, it doesn't matter. Like, try it.
Yeah.
Try if you're getting beat down for 3 or 4 rounds, try it. What are you gonna do? What do you have to lose?
Yeah, I think he started his takedowns too little, too late. That 4th round, he tried that Japanese. There's like a roll you do into a leg lock,
did it one, and Justin kind of just like looked at him as he did it, and he was like, "Okay, what?"
Yeah, he was like, "Nah."
Did you see the bits? I'm sure. Well, you're watching where he was doing he was throwing sand at him. Tony started throwing sand at him from the floor. Like the coach is like, "Throw sand at him," and he was he was doing his weird shit. But it was it was the 4th round already.
Throw sand at him.
Yeah, he was doing the Prince of Persia.
Some Street Fighter. He's trying to do some Street Fighter 2 shit.
I love the end of the
people.
I love the end of the fight too when Justin came up to him, was like, "Good job," tried to pat him on the back, and then Tony pushed him off. And then Tony said something to him like, "You don't need to be you won. You don't need to be an asshole," or something like that. And he's like, "An asshole." Justin's like, "An asshole? I just kicked your fucking ass," or something like that. I just beat the. Tony was trying to, obviously he was sour for losing, and then they worked it out, I guess. But I feel like you guys are getting gypped when people send you super chats. Doesn't YouTube take a big ass percentage of whatever amount it is?
Well, my friend, you are assuming that we get a lot of super chats.
Not really. Super chats are alright. I mean, YouTube takes a percentage of everything, so. Do you shop at thrift shops for vintage style? Yes, I shop at thrift stores. I love thrift stores. Thrift stores are the best. And not for vintage stuff. I shop because I like going there. I also sell online. But what else? You want to talk about the Corona? I mean, we're 44 minutes into it. I don't know if you have any other talks about the fights themselves.
Yeah, we can wrap this up on the Corona stuff, and I think it started off nice, started off good. Dana was like everyone was getting tested and stuff, but turns out that Jacare Souza tested positive, and two of his handlers, and the UFC tried to cover it up and say, oh, he wasn't in contact with anybody, and then like 30 seconds later, there's video online of Jacare at the weigh-ins.
As always, like
Yeah,
as social media
like,
likes to do, and just get everybody in a lie.
And I think, Daniel and I were talking about this off air, but that's a huge risk. That's a huge risk you take. If this could fuck everything up. If everybody turns out, if like half of the roster tests positive now, I don't know if they're going to test them again after.
They have
That'd
to.
probably be smart. That everyone's going to, and if a bunch of people end up
for this,
then that's going to mess it up for everybody else.
Not to mention that I already think that we're going to go into another lockdown in about another month or so. But that's all.
You think so in a month?
I don't know. I'm not going to put a time frame on it, but there's no way, man. There's no way people like the masks and stuff came off last like 2 weeks ago. Like it's an issue now, and it's just so if the masks are gone, what's stopping people from spreading? You have all the so it's just a matter of it's not like, because that's the thing,
Well,
people think, oh, we flattened the curve. Like, you're still getting thousands of cases a day. Like the curve is still high. It can easily go back up. So I think that's what's going to happen. But on the UFC standpoint, both the fighters got paid for the canceled bout. So it's like, why not just cancel the moment Jacare was responsible and said, hey, look, I was people who got found out to be positive. That fight should have been taken off the card right then and there. Don't even report to camp. That's it. You guys are going to get paid, and if you guys test negative, all right, well, we will reschedule you guys or something. Maybe you won't get paid, but we'll put you on Wednesday's card or something, It's not like they were the main event. It's not like they were, I don't even know if they were on the main card. Not to talk shit about them at all. I would have loved to see that fight, but it's just like, if they would have done that and he tested positive, Dana's the hero. Dana's the one who's like, oh, see, this is the perfect example. Dana could have rode on his high horse for putting on the event, being first, expertise, ensuring that no one gets infected. Because if Dana White can't contain it and the UFC with their small production staff, how the hell is football going to do it? How the hell is baseball going to do it? How the hell is basketball going to do it? Especially when you have players who I haven't heard of any baseball players who have had it. I'm sure there's a few, but Kevin Durant got it, So it's not like basketball. I don't know about football players. I haven't heard about football players either, but I'm sure they've had it too. But it's just like, even if you don't bring people to the stadium, you still have hundreds of people on the production staff, whether you're on the team itself or whatever. Like,
I talked about it before too, and I think what's really tricky about this whole thing is how the asymptomatic people and how it seems to hit everybody completely differently. There's not a consistent thing to look out for.
Right.
So, yeah, that messes up a lot of stuff. So you can't play around because you can't. I mean, I guess if you have the test, you can try and test everybody, but you really, really, really got to be.
Well, the thing is
it's not so much being the people in the building; it's what they do once they leave.
And that's the thing. You can't just test them once. You have to test them every single time. You have to reoccur. Like, you can get tested and then get coronavirus 15 minutes later, and your test result will come back negative, and you have the fucking disease. You have the virus, So it's like, absolutely. Dana White has to test these people every single time unless they lock them down. Right? For WrestleMania, I think he locked them in the building,
he locked everybody up,
and was like, "Hey, you're here for a month, bro. We're doing this," or whatever it was. Which is the the way they did commentary, Joe Rogan was talking about it, I guess, on the UFC. I haven't watched his show in 2 months, but
you would have to have like a prostitute island. or something. Like you'd have to have like an Olympic village, and in this Olympic village, on one far corner would have to be a bunch of like high-end hookers, and you'd have to pay for the hookers to be there, and they couldn't leave. You know what I
That's the
mean?
only way the Olympics can work.
That's the only way this would work. Is you have like a whole village full of hookers on the other side of this campus that you're on, and they can't leave either.
But are they gonna get
You know.
STD tests too?
Of course, you got an STD test them, you got a Corona test them.
That's just more
and
tests
you
for
got to
them,
make
bro.
you just test, and that's that, or mandatory condoms.
What do you?
And that's the only way you'd be able to keep like a whole basketball league like contained on one.
You know,
area.
it's funny you mentioned that. And you're mentioning it as a joke, but I read and it's not the study's not big enough for them to give any results. But they're discovering coronavirus in sperm, so it can actually be sexually transmitted.
Oh yeah.
So,
Damn.
so watch out, HIV. You got a new competitor in town. What do you think the future is, though? Let's have this be the last question. Like, of sports, we've talked about it before, but now we're a month, 2 months later. And I don't know about how much has changed. I know in terms of the way the country views opening back up has changed, but not for everybody. Not for me personally. I think we're opening too soon. I think it sucks for businesses and shit like that, but honestly, I kind of wish Trump would just put us in martial law for 3 weeks, to be honest with you. I really do. But what do you think's the future for sports? Do you think UFC do you think they did open the doors, or do you think this is gonna?
Like I said, I think if everybody comes out clean afterwards and nobody else got sick from Jacare exposure, that's a good sign. At least for sports like that, for individual sports, I think that'll lead to like golf, tennis, maybe.
NFL, NBA.
The big three is going to be a bit tougher,
And
because it all comes down to the stuff that happens. It's not the married guys; it's the single guys. It's the single guys you got to worry about. What are they going to do once they leave the facility? You know what I mean? Because that's where
do you think you see those sports this year?
I don't know. I feel like we're probably not going to see baseball, to be honest with you.
The rumor is July. I think Joe Madden
was saying.
Joe Madden was saying July 1st.
That's what they're saying, but I don't know. I think baseball.
I think NFL's the easiest one to do in regards to like maintaining the season, because
also has the most amount of people.
Well, that's the thing, though. It's true. It does.
And baseball has the second amount of people. So
I just know if motherfucking Dodgers don't play a single game this year, and Mookie Betts got to just sit this year off, and we didn't even get to see him play, I'm gonna be fucking pissed. I saw him play in spring training, but I'm one of the few people who got to see Mookie Betts in a Dodgers uniform get a hit. But I feel like that's so screwed up, man. Like, I'm not mad at him. That's just the way shit happens. But it's like,
you seem upset.
You don't think that's kind of a little bit screwed up, that you could just get signed for a 1-year deal like this thing, and then the corona happens, he doesn't even suit up one damn time, and now he's a free agent again?
Oh no, it's awful. It's terrible. But
I know, exactly. This could have been our year.
This was the year, and I'm glad. That's a silver lining for me.
You don't get to see a Dodger championship for another year. Add another year to that 30+ years of no championship.
It'll be 32 years. 32 years.
Oh man. For me personally, my thoughts on sports reopening is, I think, depending on where we're at come June, in another month, because if the numbers go back up, like if we're starting to, there's a panic, forget it.
The problem that's going on right now too is, in this age of information, it's so hard to hide shit, and we're finding out that people are dying, and even if it wasn't corona related, the hospitals are are saying that could be COVID-19 related. So we don't know what the actual numbers are, how accurate they are.
I know that
For whatever reason.
Russia just got the most record cases in one day, and they just took over number 3 in the world. They had 11,000 cases yesterday.
Well, infections versus
No, I
deaths.
know, I know.
Or,
Hey man,
yeah.
I'm just saying. And then one of the provinces in China just shut down that's been open because of reemerging cases. South Korea is also
And
starting to
that's
look at shutting some things down as well, like putting people back in a lockdown because of clubs were starting to reopen, clubs and bars. And then I mean the numbers are low, like I think it was like 40 or 50 people got confirmed to have it as a result of club interactions, but it's like 40 or 50 people can easily turn to 100, can easily turn to, more.
yeah, I think, you know, you definitely need to pump the brakes when it comes to social stuff like large. Yeah. But it sucks for Disneyland and all that. You know, and it sucks for live sports and live music events. But, you know,
My last question, then we can wrap this up because it's been about an hour. July 17th. This is what I've been on record saying. I don't plan to do a single fucking thing until July 17th if the movie theaters are open. And that's Christopher Nolan's new movie, Tenet, IMAX, whatever, like I'll go if it's open. Do you think the movie theaters will be open by then? Because that's the first that like AMC and Regal and all these theaters have said we're not gonna even if the states say we can open, we're not going to until week after week after week of blockbuster movies to are new movies, not old movies. And that's the date that they're kind of using because that's going to be the first real, like, that would be the start of, like, week after week of the bigger movies. Do you think by July 17th, theaters will open again?
um, I think if everything goes, if we stay on the same plane that we're on now, where it looks like the curve is getting flattened, that's definitely a possibility. I think it could be. The other thing, though, is I was talking about this with my buddy Mark because we brought up the Black Widow film. There's a lot of film productions are shut down, so people are going to hold off on releasing films because they don't have other films to put out afterwards. You know, until the productions are back up and running and everything is semi-normal, I think we're going to see a lot of films held back.
But I will
Other
say
than,
that because I was in that Kevin Feige or Feige, I always mispronounce his name. He said if we're he said I'm confident that we'll be open by he didn't put a date, but he's confident that they'll be open. And they asked like, well, what if the theaters implement a like 50-person maximum or something like that, right? Where you have to have like 5 seats in between you, and you can only have half the auditorium full for a Black Widow for these movies. And he said the thing that people don't understand is if we could get those 50, if we got those seats sold, if we sold those tickets, audience half the auditorium, we have a hit on our hands. He said people like to think that Avengers made this money because it was completely sold out. He said that's true for a lot of big theaters, but there's a lot of screens that go half sold out, and we have a hit on our hands.
mm-hmm.
He pretty much said that's the indicator. If we're selling
Yeah,
if we sell half a theater out, we're golden.
for every
We're
show.
winning.
Yeah,
We won. We don't need to sell out theaters. It's not about selling out theaters. It's
yeah.
you know, because that's the thing. Yeah, every show half full, something like that.
But that's not really my not what I mean. What I mean more is, you know, you had a bunch of projects slated to be finished, and those all got put on hold. And do you have enough time to catch up and finish those products? Because then you might have this gap where you don't have any movies coming out because there was no movies
Right.
made. Kind of like when the writers went on strike in 2008, 2009, like all these shows just ended.
Yeah, and they just became crappy or like they didn't finish their seasons. And he talked about having
Yeah.
production. He talked about whatever movie he didn't say, but he was like, yeah, we're in production on a Marvel film that has 300 live extras for this battle scene. and we can't film that.
Yeah.
Like we just can't film it. There's nothing we can do. But he's like, but that doesn't mean we're not working. He said we're at the point now where
You're finishing what they can finish.
working from home might be the new normal. That might be,
Yeah.
and not because of the virus, but because it's becoming actually more efficient for the editors to work at home and to work through networks and stuff. So like they actually are benefiting from that. So they're like excited. That's what he was saying. He's like, we actually kind of like that, and we've been discussing with Disney, like, do we keep this, or do we still have them keep coming into the to the studio to edit? Because he's like, I love being in the room, but that's what he was saying. Like it's been better for us.
I think, I think people are more productive sometimes when they're not having someone constantly peering over their shoulder, and I think that's something I've thought of before. I think the reason why people have your boss has to come into the office is because he wants to make sure he's getting those 8 hours out of you, even though 5 hours of it you're fucking around on fucking Facebook and eBay and
Whatever
Amazon
else.
and shit. Yeah, so you're really only productive for 3 hours. But I think, maybe people are seeing like, hey, if we just say I need you to get this much done by this date, people will get it done.
So
It's
interesting. It's interesting. That's all I'll say.
And just think about like the overhead coming down because you're not paying a rent
Office
on
space.
facility.
I mean, Jesus.
Yeah.
All that. I mean, not just for films, just for everybody. I was just like, there's just.
You're not buying crafty anymore because people are at home feeding
Which is the
themselves.
best thing about a job like that, working in a big ass office where you got access to all this good food all the time.
I know. I was the one that used to buy all the snacks, so that was my job. I know those snacks very well. So,
But anyway,
anyways, I think that's gonna do it for us, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. You know the drill. Smash that like button. Leave comments. Let us know what you think. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Ring the bell if you already are. And we'll see you on the next one. The Bang review coming